Hello, Bookbellas and fellas, Kira here, and today I'm going to be discussing my book haul for November. Oops, I did it again. So there's quite a few books here. Let's just go ahead and get on into it. I've been looking at these for a while. I'm hoping that they live up to everything else Brandon Sanderson has done. This is books 1 and 2 of White Sand. I heard about these last year when everybody went to BookCon, like they were passing out paperbacks of these. And I love Brandon Sanderson. I just finished reading 3 of his books last month. These are actually comic books in the same world as his Cosmere series, which, if for those of you who don't know, the Cosmere has his Mistborn trilogy and the Stormlight Archive and the Warbreaker and Elantris, and all of his major adult books are in this universe. So I am not too sure exactly what these are. They're quick reads, and I'm probably going to wait a little bit longer until I actually get into more of his Cosmere stuff. I've heard some mixed reviews on these. I've heard some people really don't like them, which I'm really nervous about because I haven't read a Brandon Sanderson book that I haven't loved, and so I'm really kind of curious to see how I feel about these. The next book that I am going to discuss that I got was Pride by E.B. Zabowie. And this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling in Brooklyn, and it sounds really interesting. I remember I've read Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, and I absolutely loved that. I thought it was so good. It's kind of a slow burn, especially if you're not into classics, and it is a very big book, but I still loved all the angst. So I'm really looking forward. I hope there is a lot of angst, the same kind of angst in here that we got from the original Pride and Prejudice. I love that story, so I was very excited when I heard that they were doing a retelling of this. The next book that I got is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nigan. This has also been a very popular book going around BookTube, and it's basically about these girls. Every year, 8 girls get picked to serve the king, and it is extremely demeaning. I'm thinking it's probably got something like either he's very mean to them or sexual involved. So our main character, Leigh, is part of what they call the paper caste, and it's the lowest caste in this world. And instead of 8 girls getting picked, 9 girls get picked, and Leigh is the 9th girl, and they say instead of paper, she's made of fire. So far this has been getting a ton of really good reviews, so I'm really looking forward to reading this. Another book that I got is Grave Mercy by Robin Lefebvre. This is set in the late 1400s, and it's a historical fiction, which I didn't really know going into this, how much of a historical fiction this was. It's actually about assassin nuns who live at a church of St. Morton. St. Morton is the patron of death. They pick up girls that don't have a ton of options, and they pick up girls, who they believe would be prime candidates. They pick up girls who have survived poison. When Ismay was still in utero, Ismay's mother tried to abort her using a poison, and it didn't work. She was born, but she was born with a lot of scar tissue, and so she was kind of disfigured only on her back area because of that poison, but the poison didn't work. Come to find out, poisons that would kill men 3 times her size have very little effect on her. So she ends up getting taken in by this guild of assassin nuns to be trained as an assassin, but also to work with poisons that a lot of other people cannot stomach to be around, because even the fumes of them could possibly kill most people who do not have this resilience. I am about a third of the way through this. I haven't had a chance to read this in a couple days, but I really am very okay about this so far. I'm not really finding it groundbreaking, so I really hope that after I get to the halfway point that it will be much better. The next book that I got from Book Outlet was Dreamer by L.E. Delano. This has a beautiful cover. This is actually a sequel, and I've been waiting, of course, to get this before I read the first one. These are only about $3 on Book Outlet, and basically there's a ship and it's sailing through time. And in the first one, so I don't give you guys any spoilers, it's about this guy who falls in love with this girl, and every day in all these alternate worlds she continuously dies on him, and he is very desperate to try to stop this cycle of her dying. He wants to rescue her. It sounded almost like a fantasy, but it also sounded like it was a romance as well, and it kind of the whole time travel and the distance between times, as far as what I know. I don't usually do cover buys, but this is gorgeous. And then this is what the first book looks like. I got this a while back, but together. They are both so freaking beautiful. Very excited. I haven't really heard anybody talking about these on BookTube, and so on the front of this it says, "What if every mirror was a portal to another life?" And that was the tagline for the front of this. So I'm really looking forward to diving into these. They don't seem like they're going to be very long at all. They seem pretty short, and the writing isn't super small. So let's see how we like these. Okay, so the next book I'm going to fully acknowledge is probably bad that I buy collector's editions without having read the first book. But sometimes you do cover buys, and I've done a couple cover buys this month. But I just love beautiful books, and I have a feeling I'm going to love this. So I already have the original, but I saw the UK version of the Six of Crows, and I love, love, love the sprayed edges. And we have these big, beautiful maps, and I've been seeing these floating around, and it says "No mourners, no funeral." I am hoping to get to these books during the first part of 2019, and I didn't want to miss out on the collector's edition because I know it's probably not great that I buy collector's editions without having read the original. I fully acknowledge that, but this was definitely a cover buy, and I am a sucker for sprayed edges. I don't know what it is. I'm a sucker for sprayed edges. So this next book I have been wanting for quite a while. This is an Asian-inspired epic fantasy, and it's one that I've been looking at for quite a while, but I never wanted to pay full price for it. So when I saw this for $6 on Amazon secondhand, I got really excited. This is an Asian-inspired fantasy, and I heard it was very descriptive, and the fight scenes were very well laid out, very visual. I mean, I don't do a ton with fight scenes. There's quite a few fight scenes that really bore me, which is kind of ironic because it's a fight scene. It shouldn't be boring you. Usually when I'm reading the descriptions, they don't always set right with me. So we'll see how I like this. They're getting ready to come out with a sequel here soon. So I'm also looking forward to that as well. The next book that I got is Wondersmith, The Calling of Morgan Crow. This is the sequel to Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow. And I read that last year and I fell in love with it. They say that these have a very Harry Potter vibe. I don't really see so much of an overlaying Harry Potter vibe as I do more along the lines of them having that chosen one trope. And with the way that the first one left off, I am super excited to get into this. This was actually one of my most anticipated books of the year, and I'm really disappointed that I haven't gotten a chance to get to it yet. As soon as I can. So very excited. For those of you guys who don't know, Morgan Crow grew up in our world, and so she was actually considered a cursed child. She talked to somebody wrong, she looked at them wrong, and everything that happened bad to those people that she looked at wrong or said something wrong to, any misfortune they had ended up getting blamed on her. And then her father, who was very high ranking in their town, had to pay those people for the fact that her daughter's existence caused them to have a bad day or have something bad happen to them. And so she's kind of a cursed child. On the day that she is meant to be sacrificed, she gets rescued by this guy named Jupiter North, who takes her to Nevermore to stand trial to see if she can be a part of this elite group. I really loved the first one, so I'm really looking forward to this. So the next book that I got is Empress of Sand by Tasha Suri. This is another epic fantasy, and I believe this is I think this might be the beginning of another series. You know, I honestly haven't read the synopsis for since after the first time I read it. I don't like to read synopses very much, except other than the first time. If I like it, I'm interested in it, then I kind of put it in my to be read list because I don't want to be ruined for anything. Sometimes these synopses are awful because they put spoilers in them, and so I try to avoid that as much as possible. I know that this has been getting a lot of mixed reviews. This has to do with deserts and sand and kind of feels like a little bit like Arabian to me, but it has an emperor and mystics and everything else. I've been hearing some mixed reviews on this, and I'm kind of worried because this is another one that I was really anticipating for this year. So I hope I end up liking this. The next book that I read, I actually went ahead and read this already. It's Empress of Seasons by Omiko Jean. This has to do with our main character, Mari. Mari is a yokai. Yokais are part human, part animal. Some yokais, like Mari, can be human and then turn into her animal counterpart. In the main area where the emperor is, yokai are actually outlawed. They are forced to wear these engraved collars. The engraving keeps them in line, keeps them from using their powers, and they're all expected to wear these collars and be registered. But because of where Mari grew up, she lives in the mountains and not everybody knows about the yokai being out that far. When the prince goes to pick a bride, when the prince goes to pick a princess or a future queen, there is this trial that they have to go through and go through all 4 of the season rooms. They have fall, winter, spring, and summer, and they have to go through all of these rooms in order to prove themselves that they are fit to be queen. Mari has been training for a very long time for this, and she, not being one of the more beautiful yokai in her village, is meant to prove her worth through her marriage to the prince. Yokai in Mari's village are kind of like the gold diggers of the yokai, and so like they get married they have these high marriages, they end up getting pregnant. Once you have a girl in this village, you can retire from getting married, but until you have a girl, you have to continuously get married and rob these men of their riches and bring the riches back to the village for the other women in the village to profit along with yourself. The next book that I got and read is Brandon Sanderson's Skyward. I love this, by the way. This was a YA book that he came out with, and it was also a science fiction book, and it had fighter pilots, and it had a crazy robot, and it had aliens that came and attacked. Our main character, Spensa, is the daughter of a very famous pilot who defends us against the Krell. This takes place not on Earth, it takes place somewhere else on a large planet where we live underground. So because every time the Krell notice too much activity, they come swooping down and they attack us. Well, during this one distinctive battle when Spensa was still very young, her father fled and was forever labeled a coward during one of these fights, and she's had to live in that legacy ever since. She gets constantly discriminated against, and it is awful, all the things that they say to her. But she is bound and determined to become a pilot. It doesn't matter what it takes. She wants to be a pilot. And so this is her fight to become a pilot and to not have to follow in her father's footsteps. Really, really enjoyed this. I ended up giving this a 5 out of 5 stars. So this is a first in a series, and they have already announced that they are going to be coming out with the next one next year. And Brandon Sanderson writes fast. He's usually pretty good about that. So the next books I got are actually a trilogy. I got Frostblood, Nightblood, and Fireblood. I actually think it's supposed to be, but in chronological order, I think it's actually supposed to be Frostblood, Fireblood, and then Nightblood is the third one. So I actually ended up getting this one from Book Outlet for like $6. I've been wanting this for a while, and it's really hard to find it in hardback. I don't have to have hardback. I was going to settle for paperback, but when I found it hardback, usually that means I had to get the other 2 in hardback also. And I actually found the second one really cheap on Amazon, and then I got the third one from Amazon as well. So this is all about how there's one girl has frostblood in her veins, but everybody around her only does fire. So she's kind of like trying to conceal the fact that she has alternate abilities. Yeah, so I'm really hoping that I will enjoy these. I read the Red Queen and I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I kind of get Red Queen vibes from this. So I'm really hoping that these will be better. I've noticed a lot of people giving these really positive reviews, probably more so than the Red Queen. I might be wrong, but that's just what I've seen. So I'm really hoping that these will be good. The next book that I got is Blanca and Roja. This is about 2 feuding sisters who are bound to swans in the woods. And then I guess 2 boys come into the picture as well, and then all of them are tied to the swans in this kind of like romance sort of thing. I get a vibe about romance. I know a lot of people have been reading this, and I am kind of familiar with Anna Marie McLemore. I really hope that this will live up to what everybody seems to be enjoying with it. So I did put in a very small order to Book of the Month Club. I don't do them every month because they don't always have books I love every month or books that I'm wanting to read. And I don't feel like I want to be subscribed to them unless there's something concrete that I really want to get into. So they actually came out with a book that they had for a while that I've been looking at, and then another book that they just came out with this month in November, and that I was really interested in. And so like the first book is the Book of Essie. I've kind of seen this around a lot, and this has to do with this reality TV show where this religious reality TV show where this young girl gets pregnant. And so, of course, like teenage pregnancy, religion, reality TV show for everyone to see, lots of angst. It sounded really good. I've heard a lot of really good things about this. and I'm really hoping that I will love it as much as a lot of other people have. So the next book that I have from Book of the Month Club, which did come out this November, was Ladder to the Sky by John Boyne. He's the same one that wrote The Heart's Invisible Furies, and I'm really hoping to read that one as well soon because I heard that was very groundbreaking. This particular book is about a writer who has no talent, and he's on his quest for fame and fortune. I've heard a lot of really, really good things about this, so when I saw it, I got really excited because I'm wanting to get more into just regular drama fiction. This is considered a psychodrama, and I've heard really good things about it, so very excited about this also. So I wasn't going to get these just yet. I've actually been drooling over the UK covers because they are so attractive. But when I saw that this was on sale on Amazon, because sometimes they knock down the prices of their books randomly, I had to get it. I had to. So the book is called Bear and the Nightingale. It is a Russian-inspired fantasy. This has to do with the woods and a blue-eyed winter demon. This is another one that I've heard a lot of really, really, really good things about. And so I'm very excited to jump into this. They are coming out with the third book, I believe, in January, so I'm going to have to try to hurry up and read these so that I'm prepared for when that one comes out. And then I ended up going on Amazon and I found the second book, The Girl in the Tower, for a really good price secondhand. And I don't mind getting secondhand books, but I'm very picky about the descriptions because I want them to look relatively new. And I was actually shocked. I got this for a really good price, and the only difference is there's a little bit of crumpling up here, but other than that there wasn't a whole lot wrong with this, and I was really happy. And I love how buttery these covers are. I just love the butteriness. I actually ended up going on a Book Outlet because they sent you a coupon for an extra 30% off all of their books as a pre-Black Friday sale. And I kept telling myself, I was I don't need to go on there. There's nothing I want on there. And then lo and behold, I went on there and I'm oh, I lied. There's a ton of stuff on there that I want. So what did I do? The first one I got was The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. I have a lot of the other Puffin Orange editions because I love how beautiful these are. They have the deckled edges. They have the French flaps. I love these so much. I didn't actually read the synopsis. I know this is a big classic and this is a very popular classic, but I mainly got it to go with the rest of the books that I got because I wanted to start trying to get into more classics, and I'm hoping to try to strive for more classics in 2019. But that's also part of my 2019 goals, which I will be posting a video of that later on in the month. The next book had recently had a movie come out for it with Russell Crowe and Nicole Kidman, and it's called Boy Erased, a memoir of identity, faith, and family. And so this is about a preacher's son who is gay, and they send him to a camp where he is expected to be rehabilitated from being gay. I saw the previews and I knew about the book beforehand, but I didn't really want to pay full price for it like most of the books. I'm not really a fan of paying full price because, especially when you can find them somewhere for cheap. So I got this for a really good deal, and I'm really, really looking forward to this. I love memoirs so much. I love first-hand accounts. So this looked really intriguing. The next book that I got is Dear Ijeweli, or A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I might have said that mostly right. But this is a very short feminist book, and it's got the little fun pages, but this is a very short feminist book. I don't know a ton about traditional feminist literature or feminist things in general. I know that I've read a few books that have had a lot of things that were feminist in them recently, and I really wanted a good introduction to feminism. So very happy that I have this. Another thing that I am very excited for, especially because they had this story as well. It's very shiny. It is The Amazing, Fantastic, Incredible, a memoir by Stan Lee, and it's illustrated by Peter David and Colleen Doran. This was really intriguing, and I felt it was so fitting, especially because I was really upset when I heard about Stan Lee. I knew he was old, and I knew it was coming, and I knew his wife had passed away last year, which, when you're married for I think it was 60 something years, you get very involved in that person's life, and it's very hard for you to continue without them. I mean, I know he was having health problems before, but I'm sure that didn't help. So I was very devastated when I heard about his death. I mean, the cameos and him showing what it is to be a nerd and being okay with being a nerd, and just because you're different doesn't mean that you can't be exceptional. And I love everything about Stan Lee. And so I saw this and I felt the fact of it is that this is a comic book laid out for his memoir. And I felt like this was so perfect for reading up on him, because I really do want to read more about him. And this is such a gorgeous book. I'm so excited. The next book that I got is Enchantress from the Stars by Sylvia Engendal. And this has a Newbery Honor Book, and also it has a foreword by Lois Lowry, who is the same one that wrote The Giver. This is a middle grade book about this girl named Elena who is looking to become a field agent on this planet, and she ends up bonding very closely to those people on the planet. I've seen some quotes from this and some excerpts, and the quotes were gorgeous, and I am a sucker for really good quotes, and I'm super excited. I'm dying to get to this, but I'm really hoping to get to this as soon as possible, because it sounded so amazing. And I love those space books, but I mean, it's not just the space books. I love like the stuff that goes kind of deeper, like underneath the surface a little bit more. And for a YA novel, it seemed like this was very good for that. So the next book is called Bob by Wendy Mass and Rebecca Stead. This is about a girl who hasn't visited her grandmother in a long time in Australia, and she feels like she forgot something very important in Australia. When she goes back to visit her grandmother again, she meets this little boy in a costume, and he's been hiding in a closet like she told him to 5 years earlier. This is another middle grade book. It is super short. The writing is really big. This had some very cute illustrations in it that I was really interested in, and this definitely won't take me like very long, but I heard Jesse the reader read this and he seemed to really like it, so I'm really curious. I'm not the biggest fan of middle grade. I do like some middle grade, obviously like Harry Potter and Nevermore, but I'm very picky about my middle grades, so I'm gonna see if I like this. The next book I got is The Queens of Innisleer by Tessa Gratton. This is a retelling of Innisleer, but Tessa Gratton style, and I think like it has to do like with all women instead of a lot of men. So I've heard some really good things about this. I've also heard some really bad things and some really mediocre things. And I kind of just want to see for myself what this is about. I've been staring at this book since it was first released early this previous year. And I've been wanting to pick it up, and Book Outlet finally had it in stock. So once again, really good price, sale, didn't have to pay full price for it. The next books I got one from Amazon and I got the other one from Book Outlet. I ended up getting the first and third book in the Mistborn trilogy. I already have a collector's set of these. I thought about it, and I really want to be able to annotate them my first time reading them so that I have something as far as reaction goes for these. And so I wanted to get a pair of books like that I could completely like mess up and not even care. And so I got this book right here. This was from Book Outlet. I paid like almost $4 for it, and they had a sale on this on Amazon for like $5. So I was really excited about that. And what I love about it, because like I've been so like in the mood, these are kind of like these aren't super big, but they are floppy paperbacks, and I love that. I don't get a lot of my paperbacks are not very floppy, so I'm very excited to have some floppy paperbacks to read. I'm also hoping to get to this towards the end of the month, because being a big Brandon Sanderson fan, I heard that this is probably like his best series. And so, I'm just very excited about this, because I finally have books that I can completely mess up if I want to and not have to worry. So I've been wanting to read N.K. Jemisin for quite a while. So I ended up getting a couple of books by her. I got the Killing Moon duology, and these have been getting really hard to find in paperback. I could have probably gotten it on my Kindle, but I actually, for these, I really wanted to have them in paperback. And then I also have a huge brick of a book that has 3 books in it, which is also a super floppy paperback called Her Inheritance Trilogy. I don't know a ton about these, but I remember reading the synopses and I was really curious about them, and they overall seem to have gotten reasonably good reviews. I kind of want to read these before I read her 5th season series because I want to be able to experience her evolution of writing firsthand. I don't always get to do that with a lot of authors, but I kind of feel like I want to do that because I want to lead up to her masterpiece of the 5th seasons before I actually get to those. I want to be able to read these. I think the Killing Moon duology was before the Inheritance trilogy, but I'm going to look it up before I start it. So the last book that I got is A Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. So according to this, the author, James Islington, was inspired by Brandon Sanderson to write. And anytime you say Brandon Sanderson, it's kind of a thing. I know like a lot of authors are getting to a point like where they're using that to sell books, which kind of bothers me, but I've heard a lot about this book as far as like a lot of favorable things, and I love this cover. I wasn't really like looking for it in hardback, but when I found it for a really good price in hardback, I got really excited because I love the spine. Like it has a kind of like a image on the spine, and I'm really looking forward to this too. This is the last book that I have in this giant haul. I've tried to read the synopsis on this over and over and over again. I know it's about augurs and how they fell and how a bunch of gifted people used to serve him. I kind of feel like the outline for like this is a little bit sketchy, but I'm really excited. And the fact of it is like this is a huge book. This is almost 700 pages, and this is a first of a trilogy, and I think they're getting ready to come out with the 3rd one in January as well. So I'm hoping I probably won't have this read by January because there's a lot of other things that I want to get to before it, but as soon as possible this will be read. All right guys, thank you guys so much for joining me for this giant book haul. If you guys are still with me, I really appreciate it. If you like this video, hit the little like, hit subscribe, and then hit the little bell icon so that you can receive emails every time I post, and then you'll never miss a video. As always guys, thank you so much for watching me, and I hope to see you all again very soon.